The grand chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with light that bounced off the crystalline walls. Ambassador Daniel Ross walked slowly toward the center platform. His boots made soft tapping sounds on the polished floor. He kept his back straight and his face calm, even though 50 alien species watched him from their raised seats. Daniel had served as Earth's voice to the stars for 7 years. He understood the Council better than any human alive. He knew they feared humanity's quick rise from a planet-bound species to a spacefaring power in less than a century. What took other races thousands of years, humans had done in mere decades. Ambassador Ross, you stand accused of attempting to bring forbidden weapons technology into Council space, said High Counselor Zetix, a tall, blue-skinned being whose 6 eyes blinked in different patterns. How do you respond to these charges? Daniel took a deep breath. The accusations are false. I brought no weapons. The data cores contain only trade agreements and scientific research as permitted under Article 7 of the Inclusion Treaty. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Gentai delegation, with their metallic scales and narrow faces, shifted uncomfortably. Their leader, Counselor Vexillar, leaned forward. We have proof, Vexillar hissed. Our security forces found quantum destabilizers hidden within your diplomatic containers. Daniel's heart beat faster, but he kept his voice steady. I request to see this evidence and have it examined by neutral parties. The request was reasonable under Council law. Daniel saw several representatives nod in agreement. The teller delegate, a short furry being named Mecht, raised his hand to support the motion. Vexillar slammed his clawed hand on the table. The evidence is classified for security reasons. That is not acceptable under Council procedures, Daniel said. He turned to address the entire chamber. Many of you welcomed Earth into the galactic community 5 years ago. We have honored all agreements. We have shared our music, art, and scientific discoveries. Yet some among you have never accepted us. Daniel activated his wrist computer, projecting images into the air. They showed Gentai ships attacking human outposts on the edges of settled space. These attacks have cost human lives. When I brought evidence of Gentai involvement to this council last month, my concerns were dismissed. Now I stand falsely accused. The chamber erupted in shouting. Some council members demanded to examine the evidence against Daniel. Others called for immediate punishment. High Counselor Zetix raised all 4 of his arms. Silence. When the noise died down, Zetix spoke in a cold voice. The council will deliberate. Ambassador Ross will be held in the diplomatic quarters until a decision is reached. 2 security drones floated toward Daniel. He followed them without protest, catching the eye of Nix representative Jun Lai, whose transparent body pulsed with concerned colors. In his quarters, Daniel sat at the edge of his bed. He knew what was happening. The Gentai had been pushing for war with humans for years. They saw Earth as a threat to their regional power. His evidence of their attacks had backed them into a corner, and now they were striking back. Daniel touched a hidden panel on his watch. Message to Earth Defense Command. Authorization code. Sierra Echo Victor 89. Situation deteriorating. Probable outcome negative. Activate contingency protocol Theta. The watch blinked once to confirm the encrypted message had been sent. On Earth, Admiral Catherine Wright stood in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The message from Daniel appeared on her screen. Her face showed no emotion as she read it, but her hands tightened into fists. How long until the council reaches a decision? She asked the intelligence officer beside her. Based on past procedures, they should deliberate for at least 3 days, replied the officer, Lieutenant Paul Conway. Catherine nodded. Prepare the fleet. Silent activation, Protocol 7, and get me a direct line to the President. Back on Nexus Prime, Daniel was surprised when the guards came for him after only 6 hours. This wasn't right. Council deliberations on serious matters always took days. They led him back to the chamber, which was now darkened except for a spotlight on the central platform. Only half the council members were present. The rest of the seats stood empty. The Council has reached a verdict, announced High Counselor Zetix. Daniel Ross of Earth is found guilty of attempting to smuggle forbidden weapons technology into Council space, an act of aggression punishable by death. Daniel felt a cold shock run through his body. I demand the right to appeal and to contact my government. Vexillar smiled, showing pointed teeth. The right of appeal is suspended in cases involving weapons of mass destruction. The sentence will be carried out immediately. Daniel looked around the chamber, seeing with perfect clarity. Now, this was no trial. It was an execution planned from the start. My death will not be forgotten, Daniel said clearly, knowing his words were being recorded. Earth does not abandon its own. Remember that what follows was your choice, not ours. Vexillar laughed. Your primitive species makes empty threats. Once you are gone, we will establish new terms with your replacement. Earth will learn its proper place. A field of energy surrounded Daniel, lifting him off the floor. He did not struggle or beg. He kept his eyes open, staring directly at the council members who had betrayed the principles they claimed to uphold. For the protection of galactic peace and as a warning to Earth, the sentence will be carried out, said Zatix, avoiding Daniel's gaze. The energy field glowed brighter. Daniel felt heat building around him. He thought of Earth, of blue oceans and green forests. He thought of his family. And he thought of the preparations humanity had been making in secret, just in case the universe proved as dangerous as some had feared. Protocol Theta initiated, he whispered as the field collapsed inward. The execution was broadcast across all galactic networks as a warning. The Council wanted every species to witness the price of defying their authority. On Earth, Admiral Wright watched the transmission in silence. When it ended, she turned to the officers in the command center. Their faces showed shock, horror, and rage. They've made their choice, Catherine said quietly. Now we make ours. She placed her hand on a scanner. The computer requested voice confirmation. Admiral Catherine Wright, Earth Defense Command. Authorization, Annihilation Protocol, Phase 1. The computer responded with a soft chime. Annihilation Protocol initiated. Phase 1 active. Across the solar system, hidden facilities began to power up. Ships emerged from secret docks on Mars, Europa, and Titan. Military bases beneath Earth's oceans prepared specialized weapons and defense systems. Catherine looked at the star map showing the Galactic Council worlds. They thought they knew us, she said to no one in particular. They had no idea what humans are capable of when pushed too far. 3 days after Daniel Ross died, a Galactic Council ship entered Earth's orbit. 6 diplomats requested permission to land. Their message stated they wished to discuss the unfortunate incident and establish new diplomatic protocols. Earth granted permission with surprising ease. The alien representatives were escorted to the United Nations building in Geneva. They expected to see anger, perhaps even fear. Instead, they found Acting Ambassador Samantha Reeves waiting with a calm smile. Welcome to Earth, she said, gesturing to the seats around the large oak table. We appreciate your visit during this difficult time. The lead diplomat, a green-skinned Valurian named Grek, seemed relieved by her tone. The Council regrets the extreme measures that became necessary. We hope to move forward with a more cooperative human representative. Samantha nodded pleasantly. We understand completely. Please share the Council's proposals. As the meeting continued, Samantha was the picture of cooperation. She asked thoughtful questions and took careful notes. The aliens gradually relaxed, believing the crisis might pass more easily than expected. They did not see what was happening elsewhere. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Catherine Wright stood in Earth's largest hidden military facility. Screens showed activity across the solar system. She addressed 24 commanding officers. Phase 1 is complete, she said. All dormant facilities are now active. Mars Shipyard reports the Defender fleet is ready for deployment. Jupiter, station has activated the SHIELD network. She moved to a holographic display showing the territory controlled by the Galactic Council. Red dots highlighted key installations. Intelligence confirms the Gentai led the push for Daniel's execution. Councillor Vexillar personally fabricated evidence against him. The High Council approved the execution with only 7 members present, less than the legal quorum required by their own laws. Captain Greg Nelson frowned. So they didn't even follow their own rules? They never intended to, Catherine replied. Daniel knew the risks. His final encrypted message arrived shortly before his execution. She played the recording. Daniel's face appeared, tired but determined. If you're seeing this, I'm gone. The Council, particularly the Gentii, will never accept us as equals. They fear our potential. They've been planning to contain Earth for years. My execution is just the first step. Proceed with contingency protocols. Everything I've learned confirms our worst fears and justifies our preparations. The room fell silent when the message ended. Daniel was our shield, Catherine said. He kept them focused on diplomacy while we prepared. Now we move to Phase 2. On the moon's far side, Dr. Alan Mercer led a team of Earth's brightest minds. They worked in a facility buried deep beneath the lunar surface. For 15 years, they had developed technologies the Council believed impossible. Alan studied the quantum field generator, a device that could alter the fundamental laws of physics within a limited area. The Council races thought such technology was thousands of years beyond human capability. They were wrong. Final calibrations complete, reported his assistant Susan Parker. The field is stable at 10 kilometers diameter. Alan nodded. Begin production of the ship-mounted versions. Admiral Wright needs them within 2 weeks. At Mars Colony, General Frank Miller watched as thousands of soldiers boarded transport ships. These weren't ordinary troops. Each had been enhanced with cutting-edge biotechnology and neural implants. They could fight in any environment, even the vacuum of space for short periods. Remember, he told his officers, this is not about revenge. This is about survival. The Council has shown they consider us expendable. We're going to change their minds. Across human space, colonies initiated blackout protocols. Critical personnel evacuated to hidden locations. Computer systems disconnected from the galactic network. Ships changed identification codes or vanished from tracking systems entirely. Some alien diplomats noticed the unusual patterns. A few reported concerns to their governments. Most dismissed the activity as human emotionalism, a species in mourning, nothing more. They did not understand humanity's capacity for both grief and calculated action. In Geneva, Samantha concluded her meeting with the Council representatives. I believe we have the outline of a workable arrangement, she said, smiling warmly. Earth looks forward to resuming normal relations under these new terms. Greg seemed pleased. The Council will be gratified by Earth's reasonable approach. We feared a more emotional response. We're a practical species, Samantha replied. Daniel would have wanted cooperation, not conflict. After the aliens departed, Samantha entered a secure room beneath the building. She activated a quantum encrypted channel to Admiral Wright. They bought it completely, she reported. They think we're cowed and ready to accept their terms. Catherine's face remained grim on the screen. How long? They're returning to Nexus, prime with their report. The Council will likely send a permanent delegation within 3 weeks. By then, it will be too late, Catherine said. Phase 2 is nearly complete. We launch in 1 month. That night, Catherine stood alone at the window of her office looking at the stars. She thought about Daniel. They had been friends long before he became ambassador. She remembered his words when they first learned about the Galactic Council. Humans have always been divided. Countries, religions, ideologies. But out there, we're just one thing, human. If they threaten that, all our differences won't matter anymore. Catherine touched the glass as if reaching for those distant points of light. You were right, old friend, and they're about to learn what that means. Across the solar system, humanity prepared for war. Not a war of blind revenge, but a carefully planned response years in the making. Ships with stealth technology no alien race could detect. Weapons designed specifically for each Council species' vulnerabilities. Soldiers trained to fight beings with abilities humans had never faced before. Earth had hoped for peaceful cooperation among the stars. The Council had chosen otherwise. In 1 month, the first Harbinger-class ships would launch. Their mission? Precise strikes against those who had condemned humanity's representative to death without a fair trial. The Annihilation Protocol had been named to reflect its true purpose. Not the destruction of alien life, but the annihilation of the idea that humans could be controlled through fear. Catherine returned to her desk and opened a file containing profiles of ship captains. She needed the right person to lead the first strike team. Someone with both tactical brilliance and moral clarity. Her finger stopped on Captain Lisa Chambers. Perfect. The Annihilation Protocol entered Phase 2. 1 month passed since Daniel's execution. In the darkness of space beyond Neptune, a fleet of ships gathered. They looked unlike any vessel humans had built before. Their hulls absorbed light instead of reflecting it. No energy signatures leaked from their engines. They were invisible to all known detection methods. Captain Lisa Chambers stood on the bridge of the lead ship, named Silent Justice. At 42, she had served in Earth Space Forces for 20 years. She had been chosen for this mission because she understood the difference between justice and revenge. "All ships report ready, Captain," said her second-in-command, Lieutenant Steve Harris. Lisa nodded. "Open fleet-wide channel." She looked at the faces of the other ship captains on her screen. Men and women selected from every nation on Earth. They represented humanity's unified response. "Today we begin Operation First Light," Lisa said. "Our mission is precise and targeted. We strike only military and government targets responsible for Ambassador Ross's death. Civilian populations are to be avoided at all costs. Remember, we are not starting a war of extinction. We are showing the Council that humans cannot be eliminated without consequences." The captains acknowledged her orders. Their faces showed determination, not hatred. "Initiate jump drives," Lisa commanded. The fleet vanished from the solar system. On the Gentai homeworld of Vex Prime, it was a normal day. Military ships patrolled the skies. Government officials worked in their crystal towers. No one noticed when 50 small objects entered the atmosphere. The first sign of trouble came when the planetary defense grid suddenly went offline. Then the military communication network failed. In the capital city, the Central Command Building, Ospower. Councillor Vexillar was in the middle of a meeting when alarm sounded. "What is happening?" he demanded. His security chief checked emergency systems. "Unknown, sir. We've lost contact with all orbital platforms and defense stations." In space above the planet, Lisa's fleet emerged from stealth. "Deploy the nanite." "Swarms," she ordered. From each ship, thousands of microscopic robots descended to the planet. They had one purpose: to disable Gentai technology without harming the Gentai themselves. Within hours, the entire military infrastructure of the planet was paralyzed. No ships could launch. No weapons could fire. Government buildings stood dark and useless. Only then did Lisa open a communication channel to the planet's surface. Her face appeared on every working screen on Vex Prime. "I am Captain Lisa Chambers, of Earth. 1 month ago, your government executed our ambassador without a fair trial. This action cannot be undone, but neither will it go unanswered." In his emergency bunker, Vexillar watched with growing horror. "Your military capability has been neutralized," Lisa continued. "Your technology will remain disabled for one standard, Galactic Year. We have not harmed your civilian population. We have not destroyed your cities. Remember this restraint. It is more than you showed us." The transmission ended. Lisa's fleet vanished back into the darkness of space. Meanwhile, another Earth fleet led by Commander Jason Brooks approached the Rigel system. Here, the Galactic Council maintained its central communication hub, a massive space station that controlled the faster-than-light communication network linking all member worlds. Jason's mission was more complex. His team included the best computer specialists Earth had trained. Their target, the Council's ability to coordinate a response. "Quantum disruptors ready, Commander," reported his technical officer, Laura King. Jason studied the station's schematics one last time. "Deploy on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." specialized devices attached to the outer hull of the station. They didn't damage the structure, but the energy pulses they emitted scrambled the quantum communications array. Throughout Council space, the faster-than-light network collapsed. For the first time in 1,000 years, member worlds could not instantly communicate with each other. Confusion spread across hundreds of systems. In a secure facility on Mars, an artificial intelligence system named Guardian processed data from both operations. It had been designed to understand alien psychology and predict strategic responses. Dr. Helen Ward monitored its analysis. "How accurate were our predictions?" she asked her team. 97% alignment with projected outcomes, replied Dr. Ben Cooper. The Gentai reacted with shock rather than immediate counterattack. The communication disruption has prevented a coordinated council response. Helen nodded. Prepare for Phase 3. We have a 48-hour window before they develop alternatives. Over the next 2 days, Earth forces struck 10 more targets across Council space. Each operation followed the same pattern: precise, non-lethal, but devastating to military and governmental capability. On the neutral world of Tanaris, representatives from the Teller Federation and the Nyx Collective met in secret. Both had been allies to Earth in the Council. "Did you know they had this capability?" asked Teller Ambassador Mekta Junlai of the Nyx, pulsed with troubled colors. "We suspected they were more advanced than they revealed, but this level of technological sophistication, they have disabled the Gentai military without killing a single civilian," Mekt said. "That shows restraint and precision beyond what most species would demonstrate." "The question is what happens next," Junlai replied. "Will they stop with these demonstrations, or is this merely the beginning?" Back on Earth, Admiral Wright addressed the United Earth Parliament. The chamber was filled with elected representatives from every human nation and colony. "The first phase of the Annihilation Protocol has been completed," she reported. "All targets have been neutralized with minimal collateral damage and no civilian casualties." A representative stood. "What about the Council's response?" "Their ability to coordinate has been severely compromised," Catherine answered. "Individual member worlds are in confusion. Some are preparing for war. Others are calling for negotiation." "And what is our next step?" asked the Parliament speaker. Catherine's face remained composed, but her eyes showed steely determination. "We continue as planned." The Council believed they could execute our representative without consequences. They thought we were weak, divided, primitive. We have shown them their first mistake. She looked around the chamber. Ambassador Ross gave his life representing all of humanity. Now we deliver our message to those who killed him. We did not start this conflict, but we will end it. The Annihilation Protocol doesn't mean the destruction of alien life. It means the annihilation of the idea that humanity can be subjugated. The Parliament erupted in applause. For the first time in human history, every nation stood truly united. In her quarters later that night, Catherine looked at a photo of Daniel and herself from their academy days. "First steps taken, old friend," she whispered. "Now we see if they're wise enough to listen before we have to escalate further." Across the stars, the Council worlds began to understand what they had awakened, and some began to fear what might come next. 3 months passed since Earth launched its first strikes. The Galactic Council was no longer the unified power it once was. Many species had withdrawn from the conflict, declaring they wanted no part in a war they had not approved. Admiral Catherine Wright studied the reports from across Council space. The Medusan Collective, known for their wisdom and caution, had formally declared neutrality. The Orion Syndicate, a powerful trading alliance, had cut ties with the anti-human coalition. Even more surprising, the insectoid Vespid, once fierce, enemies of most species, had secretly contacted Earth with offers of alliance. "Our strategy is working," Catherine told her staff. "The Council is fracturing along the lines Guardian predicted." General Frank Miller looked less convinced. "The Gentai and their closest allies are growing desperate. That makes them dangerous." He was right. Just that morning, news had arrived of attacks on 3 human mining colonies. Councillor Vexillar had ordered strikes against civilian targets. Hoping to force Earth to divide its forces, the plan had backfired badly. The colonies, which appeared defenseless on galactic maps, activated hidden defensive systems. The attacking Gentai fleets were destroyed before they could report back. Vexillar failed to understand our preparations, Catherine said. No human settlement has been left unprotected. We've been preparing for this possibility since first contact. On Mars, Dr. Alan Mercer met with scientific leaders from across human space. He unveiled the next phase of Earth's technology, quantum entanglement disruptors. The Gentai, like all insectoid species in the Council, rely on a biological hive mind, he explained. Their central consciousness coordinates their society through quantum entanglement at the cellular level. This device breaks those connections without harming the individuals. The scientists examined his invention with awe. This could disable their entire civilization without firing a shot, said Dr. Susan Parker. Alan nodded. That's the goal. We don't want to destroy them. We want to stop their ability to harm us. When deployed a week later, the results were immediate. The entire Gentai fleet came to a standstill as ship captains suddenly lost their connection to the hive. Their society fell into confusion, with individuals experiencing true independence for the first time in their evolutionary history. Meanwhile, Ambassador Samantha Reeves conducted shadow diplomacy. She traveled secretly to neutral worlds, meeting with representatives who had opposed Daniel's execution or abstained from the vote. On the water world of Aqualis, she met with delegates from 7 species. Earth does not seek the destruction of the Council, she told them. We want a new beginning. Equal representation for all species, regardless of how long they've been part of the galactic community. She showed evidence that the charges against Daniel Ross had been fabricated by the Gentai. Many delegates were shocked by the depth of the deception. What you ask would mean a complete restructuring of galactic governance, said the Aquilan representative, a being with blue scales and webbed hands. Yes, Samantha agreed. The old system allowed a few species to dominate all others. That system died the day they executed an innocent diplomat without proper trial. Word of these meetings spread among neutral worlds. Many began to see humanity, not as a threat but as a force for needed change. But the Gentai and their allies were not ready to surrender. They gathered their remaining ships for one massive assault on the human colony at Alpha Centauri, Earth's oldest and most established off-world settlement. The human flagship Vengeance, commanded by Captain Eric Mitchell, detected the incoming fleet. Unlike other Earth vessels, the Vengeance had been built for direct combat. It carried the most advanced weapons humanity had developed. They've committed everything they have left, Eric told his crew. They think this is their last chance to strike a devastating blow. His first officer, Jane Wilson, studied the tactical display. They outnumber us 5-1, even with most of their fleet disabled. Eric smiled slightly. Numbers aren't everything. Prepare the phase shift drives. The Gentai fleet entered the Alpha Centauri system with weapons charged. Their admiral, a battle-hardened veteran named Krazak, was confident in victory. Even with the hive mind disrupted, they had numbers and firepower on their side. What they didn't know was that Earth scientists had developed technology that allowed ships to move between dimensional planes, literally shifting partly out of normal space. As the alien fleet approached, the Vengeance seemed to flicker like a faulty image. Gentai weapons fire passed harmlessly through its hull. Phase shift complete, reported the ship's engineer. We're operating in parallel space. Eric gave the order to counterattack. The Vengeance fired weapons that remained solid while the ship itself was partially phased. The Gentai had no defense against attacks coming from what appeared to be empty space. Within 30 minutes, half their fleet was disabled. The rest retreated in disarray, sending distress signals that would never be answered due to the disabled communication network. Back on Earth, Admiral Wright received news of the victory with grim satisfaction. This should be the final demonstration they need, she told President Oliver Clark. The president nodded. Then it's time for the next phase. Have Ambassador Reeves issue the formal invitation to all species for peace talks. Location? Catherine asked. Europa, the president replied. Neutral ground, Not Earth, but still our territory. We'll show them both our strength and our willingness to negotiate. That evening, the invitation was transmitted on all frequencies and in all known languages. Earth called for representatives from all spacefaring races to gather on Europa in 1 month's time to sign a new galactic concordat. The message concluded with words written by Catherine herself. The old council is gone. It died with Ambassador Daniel Ross. Now we build something better together, a galaxy where no species stands above others, where justice applies equally to all, where cooperation replaces domination. Come to Europa. Help us create a future worthy of all our civilizations. Across the stars, species that had watched the conflict from a distance considered the invitation. Many had chafed under the old council's rule, but had been too weak to challenge it. Now they saw an opportunity for real change. On the Gentai homeworld, Councillor Vexillar faced rebellion from his own people. With the hive mind disrupted, many Gentai experienced independent thought for the first time. They questioned the decisions that had led to their defeat. The humans could have destroyed us, said one military leader. Instead, they offered us a chance to live in a new way. Perhaps we should listen. Vexillar hissed in anger, but his influence was fading. The old order was dying across the galaxy. A new one waited to be born. 1 year had passed since Ambassador Daniel Ross was executed. The icy surface of Europa gleamed under the distant sun as ships from across the galaxy arrived. This small moon of Jupiter had been transformed into neutral meeting ground, with temporary structures that could support life forms from every known world. In the central dome, a massive round table had been set up. Unlike the old council chamber with its high seats for elder races and low positions for newer species, this table was perfectly flat. All seats were identical. It was the first visible sign that things had changed. Admiral Catherine Wright watched as representatives from 87 spacefaring races took their places. Some came eagerly, others with clear reluctance. The Gentai delegation was led not by Councillor Vexillar, who had been removed from power, but by a young female named Tezara, who represented the new thought movement that had emerged once. The hive mind was disrupted. President Clark of Earth stood to open the proceedings. 1 year ago, a human diplomat was executed without a fair trial. Today, we gather not for further conflict, but to build a new way forward. The document before you, the Galactic Concordat, establishes a system where every species has equal voice and equal protection under galactic law. Many delegates studied the proposed agreement with interest. It contained principles that younger races had wanted for centuries, but had never been able to implement under the old power structure. The Concordat requires unanimous agreement to become binding, the President continued. Earth will not force any species to join. Those who choose not to sign may remain independent, though they will not enjoy the benefits of membership. This approach surprised many who had expected Earth to impose terms after its military victory. Instead, humans were offering true choice. Discussions continued for 3 days. Some points were debated fiercely. The Juriani, a race of energy beings, wanted special exceptions for non-corporeal species. The water-dwelling Aquilans needed guarantees about ocean world protections. Each concern was addressed with careful attention. Ambassador Samantha Reeves led the human diplomatic team. Her patience and willingness to compromise on non-essential points won respect from even the most skeptical delegates. On the final day, the Gentai representative Tezara approached Catherine during a break. "My people have a question," she said. "Your forces disabled our hive mind. You could have destroyed our civilization completely. Why didn't you?" Catherine looked at the young Gentai, so different from the aggressive Vexillar. "Because that would have made us no better than those who executed Daniel. We wanted justice, not genocide." Tezara's compound eyes flickered in the Gentai expression of understanding. "Many of my people prefer our new independence. It is frightening, but also freeing to think as individuals." "That was an unintended benefit," Catherine admitted. "We designed the disruption to be temporary, but your people can choose whether to restore the old connection or maintain your new individuality? We are voting on that very question soon, Tezera said. Freedom is challenging, but I believe we will choose it. When the final session began, President Clark addressed the matter of the former council leadership. Those directly responsible for framing Ambassador Ross must face justice. We propose a trial by an interspecies tribunal with judges from races not involved in the original conflict. There were murmurs of agreement. Even the Gentai did not object. Vexillar and 6 other former council members would be judged not by humans but by the standards of the new concordat they had tried to prevent. As the delegates prepared to sign the historic document, Admiral Wright stepped forward for a symbolic gesture. She activated her communication device, and her voice carried to Earth and all human settlements. Authorization, Catherine Wright, Earth Defense Command. Deactivate Annihilation Protocol, all phases. Code Sierra Tango 947. Screens around the chamber showed human military installations powering down their special weapons. Ships returned to normal operating status. The emergency measures that had protected humanity and enabled their victory were publicly stood down. Humanity never sought the annihilation of any species, she explained to the assembled delegates. The protocol targeted only a corrupt system that placed power above justice. That system is now gone. After the signing ceremony, Dr. Alan Mercer announced that human scientists would share certain technologies with all peaceful species. Not weapons, but medical advances, clean energy systems, and environmental restoration techniques that could benefit worlds damaged by centuries of exploitation. In the center of the new Galactic Assembly building, a memorial to Daniel Ross was unveiled. It was simple, a statue of a human figure with hand extended in friendship. At its base, his final message was inscribed in all major galactic languages. Humanity does not seek dominance, only a place among the stars where we can stand tall, unafraid, and unbowed. That evening, Admiral Wright and Ambassador Reeves stood on an observation deck, looking out at the ships from dozens of worlds orbiting Europa. Do you think they understand us any better now? Samantha asked. Catherine watched as diplomats from various species mingled at the reception below. There was caution, but also genuine curiosity and respect that hadn't existed before. They understand one thing perfectly, she replied. Humans protect their own, and we will never accept being treated as lesser beings. Everything else, they'll learn in time. In the chamber below, a young diplomat named Ryan Carter prepared to take his position as Earth's new permanent ambassador. He had been Daniel's student and friend. Now he would carry forward the work his mentor had begun. As Ryan entered the assembly hall for the first time in his official capacity, representatives from all species rose from their seats. It wasn't just protocol. It was acknowledgement, not just of Earth's power, but of the principles they had fought to defend. Ryan placed his hand on the concordat document, feeling the weight of what had been lost and what had been gained. For you, Daniel, he whispered, and for all who come after us. The new Galactic Assembly was formally called to order, a page turned in the history of the stars. The old council was gone forever. In its place stood something that might, with time and care, become truly worthy of all the diverse civilizations it represented. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest, but by refusing to accept injustice, and by offering a better path forward once victory was achieved. It was a beginning, and as Ryan looked around at the faces, human and alien, he knew that Daniel would have considered it worth the sacrifice.